Good evening, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be here, and I'm so delighted to be part of this prestigious summit. I'm very thankful to Dr. Podresta for having invited me, and it's so good to see that such a great initiative like yours is something that definitely UNESCO is going to benefit from. And I am here to listen to you, to hear what the issues necessarily in your country only are, and to take back with me all these ideas, incredible experiences, and best practice that we can scale at international level. I don't know whether you will find my presentation as good as the wonderful food that was served tonight. I hope it will go down well. Yes, so I would like to share with you some of the global context of teacher education and what are the issues that ministers of education and institutions are looking at from developing countries, less developing countries, small islands. They all have a thing in common. They all want good teachers. They all want students to have the best of results, learning, to be very good learners. And last but not least, they all want very empowered citizens to use technology in a 21st century interconnected world. So basically, this is what I'm going to present. As I always like to look at the future, but with an eye in the past, I have thought of sharing with you this translation from Plato, who I think if he had lived today, I'm sure he would have embraced the technology, because he thought that the learning process is an amusement, and the teacher's role is to stir that curiosity and amusement in the learner, so that he can discover the peculiar bent of the genius of each learner. And I like that very much. And so let's just try to... Okay. Now, at the World Conference on Higher Education, I have picked up that because we had a very impressive representation of all countries. 186 countries were present, and ministers of education, of higher education. And I've particularly chosen this because the head of the US delegation, first of all, I'm in your lovely city and country, and I would like to pay respect to your work as educators. And we think that the American experience can enrich and should be a part of the global teacher education agenda that UNESCO's member states are working on. And what I liked about this presentation is that she was one of the first officials at the opening ceremony saying, I'm a teacher. I'm not, whoever you think I am, because I'm here as the head. She defined herself as a teacher. She talked about her experiences as a teacher, and also what the power of education is how the power of education is impacting on learners' achievements. And the second person I chose, also from your country, but at the General Conference of UNESCO, she talked also about the role of teacher training institutes. And in this connection, she made a recommendation to UNESCO to turn towards innovative technologies and such as open educational resources, so as to reach more students and to find a better path for students who might otherwise lack the proper opportunities. Now, what is the context we are all talking about? Of course, we are. You may have many of you. I'm sure you know Billy Balpa and his commendable work in higher education. So a group under his leadership developed a very good background document for the World Conference, which had and which gave an overall issue of all today's developments in technology. And he is speaking about what you have also, I'm sure you will mention, is the ICT revolution, but a revolution which takes time for all its impact and to take place. But already we are witnessing this transformation of the educational landscape. And I have selected here to share with you some of the key trends that both the ministers, but also rectors of institutions and experts, and also representatives of the private sector talked about. And of course, on all people's minds were the financial and economic crisis underway, and what it means, diminishing funds for universities, cost-cutting practices at many universities, and the use of part-time faculty, which seems a matter of concern. In terms of quality of the education, we all want quality, whatever the means of delivery of that education process is. The exponential demand for higher education countries as China, India, who are huge and who have huge enrollments in higher education. It's a totally new population coming, and this global knowledge system that is emerging, in which communication is, as we speak, instantaneous, and information are disseminated and researched globally. And there's also a phenomenon with the academic labor market, which is increasingly globalized. And this poses some advantages, but also some disadvantages, as you will see later on. The challenges for the academic profession are several, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new, things that you don't know, but it's a comfort for you to know how other people are thinking and what their problems are. The academic profession is clearly aging in many countries. And as I mentioned earlier, the massification phenomenon, you need greater numbers of teachers. But the fast deployment of these teachers has resulted in a decline in the average qualifications. As we move towards this global knowledge economy, the academic profession becomes more internationally oriented and mobile. But however, it is still embedded in national circumstances, in the national context. The roles of the academic profession are evolving, are diversifying, and are subject to various employment contracts. And for many developing countries, the need for ever-expanding numbers of university teachers will mean that the overall qualifications, which are now rather low, may not improve much. And this is a concern because, as I mentioned earlier, it's a current practice to rely on part-time staff in many countries, and this trend might continue. The UNESCO Institute of Statistics, based in Montreal, has this year come up with a very interesting projection of the global demand for teachers by 2015, which almost is tomorrow. Yes, it's a very short lapse of time. So they wanted to know how big is the teacher gap. And the picture is very, very mixed, because one half of the world's country, 96 out of 195, need to expand their teaching forces in order to be able to enroll all primary school age children. And in total, these 96 countries will need at least 1.9 million more teachers in classroom by 2015. How can you get that number unless governments will deploy distance education, new technologies, such alternative delivery systems to the traditional system? So that's why I think that your initiative is a very